Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yashodanandana Vraja Janarandana Yamunatira Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter number 19, The Appearance of Shukadeva Goswami, Text number 30. Saha Samvritaha Tatra Mahan Mahiyasa Brahmarshi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghaihi Vyarochata Alam Bhagavan Yatha Induhu Graha Vriksha Tara Nipkaraihi Paritaha Sasamvritastatra Mahan Mahiyasa Sasamvritastatra Mahan Mahiyasa Brahmarshi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghaihi Brahmarshi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghaihi Vyarochatalam Bhagavan Yathendu Vyarochatalam Bhagavan Yathendu Graharkshatara Nikaraih Paritaha Graharkshatara Nikaraih Paritaha Sasamvritastatra Mahan Mahiyasa Brahmarshi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghai Vyarochatalam Bhagavan Yathindu Graharkshatara Nikaraih Paritaha
Sasamvritastatra Mahan Mahiyasa Brahmrishi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghai Vyarochatalam Bhagavan Yathindu Graharkshatara Nikarai Parita
Sasamritastatra mahan bhagiyasam
Samritastatra Mahamahiyasam
Brahmashi Rajarshi Devarshi Samgai
Brahmashi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghai
Vyarocatalam Bhagavan Yatendu
Vyarocatalam Bhagavan Yatendur
Raharshataram Karai Paritaha
Raharshatara Vikareh Paritaha Saha Sri Shukadeva Goswami
Shri Shukadeva Goswami
Samvritaha
Samritaha
surrounded by
surrounded by
Tatra
Tatra
there
there
Mahan
Mahan
great
greater
Mahiyasam
Mahiyasam
of the greatest
the greatest
Brahmarshi
Brahmarshi
saint among the Brahmanas
saint among the Brahmanas
Rajarshi
Rajarshi
saint among the kings
saint among kings
Devarshi
Devarshi
saint among the demigods
saint among the demigods
Sanghaihi
Sanghai
by the assembly of
by the assembly of
Vyarochata
Virochata
well deserved
well-deserved
Alam able
able
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
powerful
powerful
Yatha
Yatha
as
as
Induhu
Induhu
the moon
the moon
Graha
Graha
planets Suriksha
Riksha
heavenly bodies
heavenly bodies
Tara
Tara
stars
stars
Nikaraihi
Nikadai
by the assembly of
Paritaha
Paritah surrounded by
surrounded by
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Shukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods, just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. Saintly devotees like purport. Sorry, am I? In the great assembly of saintly personalities, there was Vyasadeva, the Brahmarshi, Narada, the Devarshi, Parashurama, the great ruler of the Kshatriya kings, etc. Some of them were powerful incarnations of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami was not known as a Brahmarshi, Rajarshi, or Devarshi, nor was he an incarnation like Narada, Vyasa, or Parashurama, and yet he excelled them in respect paid. This means that the devotee of the Lord is more honored in the world than the Lord himself. One should therefore never minimize the importance of a devotee like Shukadeva Goswami. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Taparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapyate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Nitinamane Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakapadruvischa Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sasamvritastatra Mahan Mahiyasam Brahmarshi Rajarshi Devarshi Sanghai Vyarocatalam Bhagavan Yathendur Garharkshatara Nikareh Paritaha Shukadeva Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages and demigods just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly bodies. His presence was gorgeous, and he was respected by all. So this is the next verse, glorifying devotees of the Lord. which is one of the main aspects of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have so many pastimes which are narrated, which reveal the transcendental qualities of the Lord and his devotees. And of course, Shukadeva Goswami is perhaps can be considered the most important of those devotees, especially in regard to Srimad Bhagavatam, because it is from Shukadeva Goswami that we hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Nigamakalpatarogaritam palam shukamukhad amritadrava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam mohraho rasikam huvi bhavuka. But the nectar of the name, form, pastimes, paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord, whenever these things are narrated by Shukadeva Goswami, they become even more nectarian. Just as whenever a parrot takes a fruit from a tree, bites it with his beak, then that fruit becomes more sweet and relishable. So similarly, whenever these narrations come from the mouth of a pure devotee like Shukadeva Goswami, and they become transcendently more sweet. Already the topics of the Supreme Lord are completely transcendental and pure, but we see that whenever they are further elaborated upon by the devotees of the Lord, we can derive so much more benefit. A very practical example of this is Srila Prabhupada's books, which previously were completely inaccessible to those, especially coming from anywhere other than India, and then even within India, those who were not educated in Sanskrit and raised in Brahmanical society like that. So this is very practically experienced followers of Srila Prabhupada who very mercifully presented this knowledge in such a relishable way for all, both the educated classes of society, the uneducated, men and women, everybody. And that's because Srila Prabhupada is a perfect follower of Shukadeva Goswami. The very name Prabhupada kind of denotes this aspect. That you can derive several meanings from this. So it's there in the science of self-realization book. It's very nice that one meaning of Prabhupada can mean one who's very always at the lotus feet of Prabhu, the Supreme Lord, and another one is that at whose feet all other Prabhus sit. So this specific feature of Srila Prabhupada is also we recognize this in Shukadeva Goswami in this scene where he has arrived on the banks of the Yamuna, surrounded by so many other demigods, Devarshis, Rajarshis, Brahmarshis, and of course the king of the whole world, Parikshit Maharaj, is also present there. So this is quite an assembly of great personalities. But here in this verse it's described that Shukadeva Goswami was like the moon among all these stars. Many stars are there in the sky, and they're all beautiful. But the moon is the supremely beautiful illuminary in the sky. I think in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that among the stars I am the moon. Is that right? Among the luminaries I am the moon, the stars, nakshatra. So that means that the moon is like the supreme star. And compared to the moon, all the other stars seem very insignificant. But if you actually look at it, if you look very closely at any one of those stars, even those stars are very, very brilliant. But compared to the moon, they're practically unnoticeable. So Srila Prabhupada was also like that, and that's because Srila Prabhupada was a perfect representative of Shukadeva Goswami. Now, to become a perfect representative of Shukadeva Goswami doesn't mean simply imitating his moon-like qualities and expecting to be respected in that way. Of course, the devotee always amanina manadena, always wants to offer respect to others, never wants to accept respect from others, but In another sense, Srila Prabhupada, even Lord Chaitanya petitioned his followers to all become gurus, to all teach this message, which means that we should become elevated to a position where we are respected, where we have a position of authority by which we can propagate this knowledge, etc., etc. So we should strive to become like Shukadeva Goswami in the sense that we should strive to become pure representatives of the message which he teaches. But of course, we shouldn't immaturely think that we can imitate great devotees like Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami is like a perfect example of one who is near Bandha. Devotees in general are known as near Bandha because near Bandha means one who is not bound by anything. This generally means one who is not bound to like the gunas of the material world. Guna also means rope. So near Bandha, there's no knots tying with the gunas. But also, Shukadeva Goswami was nirbanda in the sense that he didn't tie any clothing on his body, he didn't tie his hair, he didn't keep any kantimala. You don't find any of these things. In fact, in the Bhagavatam itself, you'll find description Yam Prabrajantam Anupeta Kritim, that he left home before there was any chance for him to undergo any of these rituals of Brahmanical initiation, etc. Completely disregarding these things as unimportant. But still, he was respected among the great assembly of devotees who are authorities in this Vedic culture where these things are very important. So if we also want to come to the stage of being like Shukadeva Goswami, which we should, does that mean that we should also just reject all these different things? We should be very careful like this because we are not Shukadeva Goswami. We see that even the incarnations of the Lord, as mentioned here, like Narada Muni, Parashurama, Vyasadeva, even they very strictly followed the rules and regulations of the Vedic system. And not just them, but so many others, incarnations of the Lord and also great devotees of the Lord, like Srila Prabhupada himself, they give so much importance to um, following the injunctions, the apparently material aspects of Vedic culture. So how do we understand this? Are we supposed to um, imitate Shukadeva Goswami, or are we supposed to follow all these rules and miss the point in which Shukadeva Goswami is revealing? Shukadeva himself is actually explaining this, I guess, Sutta Goswami, but repeating Shukadeva Goswami is explaining that what is that verse I always forget? Atah pumbin puja shrestha varnashrama vibhagasha swanushtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. And that so that this varnashrama is meant only to please the personality of Godhead. And what's that other one? Shrama evaki kevalam. If it's not accomplishing that purpose, then it's actually just useless labor. So should we also think like that? Of course, we should think like this, and we should implement that in our own life. But we should also see how our acharyas implement this principle of applying or rejecting different Vedic principles. And of course, Srila Prabhupada is a shining example in recent history, but it goes back to so many different acharyas in the past who, in our own sampradaya, who um, demonstrated by their own activities how we should implement the teachings of the Vedas in relation to the execution of Krishna consciousness in this world. Um, so this is a very big topic, and we don't have a ton of time. But very simple things like the way that we dress. It's not that we go naked like Srila Goswami. It's also not that we wear blue jeans and a t-shirt and sit on the vyasa and like that. Srila Prabhupada exhibited this whenever he came to New York in 1965. That winter was said to be one of the coldest, worst winters for many, many years. But we never see any kind of picture of Srila Prabhupada wearing trousers. It seems like Srila Prabhupada, no matter what, even in the coldest winter in New York, he still kept his dress as a sannyasi. So why is that? Kiba vipra kiba nyasi kini shuddhano Krishna tattva vete se guru hoy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has rejected this idea of thinking myself to be a brahmana, sannyasi, that the ultimate essence is that one who knows Krishna, they are a guru. So why is it so important that they retain this worldly position as sannyasi or brahmana or something like that? It seems secondary, and in fact, it is. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected this as being secondary or external, is the word that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used whenever Ramananda Roy presented the following of Varnashrama Dharma principles as being the ways by which to attain the goal of life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that this is external. Now, interestingly enough, it's not that he rejected it, like many devotees kind of say in this pastime. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected Varnashrama Dharma of this pastime. It's not that he rejected it. He did reject it as being the only means, the absolute way of attaining the goal of life, but he said that it is external. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's meant to be rejected, but it is external. So Srila Prabhupada, he even exhibited in very simple ways, like keeping the dress which was given to him by his spiritual master and the service which was given to him as a sannyasi. He never rejected that service which was given to him, and he never rejected the dress which designated him as, which indicated that service which he was performing as a sannyasi. So even in the coldest winter of New York, Srila Prabhupada always wore his sannyasi garments, and whenever preaching to the lowest class people in the Bowery and the Haight-Ashbury, and also when going and meeting with big dignitaries and the government leaders and businessmen, Prabhupada always wore this sannyasi dress, keeping kantimala, tilak, etc. What to speak of so many other principles which Srila Prabhupada would follow in his own personal life and also encourage his followers to follow. A lot of times, devotees, they kind of explain how Prabhupada didn't really give so much importance to these things, especially in the early days. Didn't really give importance to devotees wearing Vaishnava clothing or even tilak or morning program and things like this. And this is how it's supposed to be for preaching in the West. And this is how it was meant to be. But then later on, what happened is that these nasty sannyasis, Prabhupada's disciples, they went to India, they learned a few things from India, and then they came back and started implementing these in America just for the purpose of kind of asserting their dominance and um, uh, demeaning other devotees. And so it was actually them which implemented these kind of principles which we find in modern day, like ISKCON, like wearing Vaishnava clothing and tilak and the separation of the genders in the temple room and everything like that. So it seems like these things were implemented by Prabhupada's followers later on, and that Prabhupada wasn't so much interested in implementing these himself. But we can see that if that was the case, and if the disciples of Prabhupada were so influential in setting the tone of the society when Prabhupada was present, and if everything that they learned in India, which they started teaching in America, that went, and Prabhupada had no control over it, then why did Prabhupada kick out some sannyasi disciples whenever they came back from India, teaching a philosophy which they had learned in India? That Prabhupada is actually, well, first, that Prabhupada is not doing the proper thing by accepting the role as accepting the title Prabhupada, but then later changing it to this whole Mayavad conception of Prabhupada. This is narrated in Lilamrita. Some sannyasi disciples, they had learned a few things in India and started teaching some strange things within ISKCON in America. Prabhupada kicked them out of the society. So why didn't he do this whenever they were teaching devotees that they should wear Vaishnava clothing, that they should be very strict in not mixing with the opposite genders? Why didn't he do that whenever they started implementing these things? And of course, that's not all that Prabhupada himself was teaching women how to wear saris in New York in the 1960s. So Prabhupada very clearly wanted devotees to try to assimilate Vedic culture. He wanted American bodied devotees to go to India and learn the culture from them. and assimilate that and live their lives like that, because this is Krishna's culture. This is the culture which is most conducive for practicing Krishna consciousness. So if we immaturely think that we can imitate devotees like Shukadeva Goswami, where we don't have to um, undergo these samskaras, sacred thread ceremony, we don't have to wear proper clothing. Of course, devotees might not be going naked like Shukadeva Goswami, but the principle is also there. We're transcendental, like that. Then, yeah, if we're thinking like this, then this isn't the proper. There's a difference between following and imitation. Anusarana and anukarana. I forget which is the difference. Anukarana is imitating.
Anukarana is imitating.
Imitating. Anusarana is okay. So, so not imitating, but following, understanding the essence of what is being taught and implementing it in our lives in such a way which is approved by our acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada, being the perfect representative of Shukadeva Goswami, did not come to America naked. He did not implement these principles in his society that we should be rejecting these uh, initiation ceremonies and other things. We see, I don't know exactly where we are here, but either right before this or maybe even after this, it's explained that he was being followed by some women and children. This is kind of like the followers, and then those brahmarshis and devarshis, or sorry, it's like the imitators, and then the brahmarshis, devarshis, these are like the followers, because the women and children, it seems a little funny, but there's actually a lot of meaning behind this. And what is the nature of women and children? Very frivolous, actually. And they see somebody like Shukadeva Goswami, and it seems like they're like following him. They want to be around him for some strange reason, but actually all they're doing is they just they're kind of there because there's something weird going on, some kind of action. They have nothing better to do, so they want to go and see what the hubbub is all about. But they didn't give respect to him. The women and children appeared to be followers of Shukadeva Goswami, but the real followers of Shukadeva Goswami were those great saints who were sitting there, who immediately recognized whenever he arrived on the scene that this is a great personality, that he is the one who's qualified to answer these questions of Parikshit Maharaj. So we shouldn't have this mentality like those women and children whenever we see the activities of the great devotees of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami isn't the only example. There's so many others that might be there. Vamsidas Babaji is a good one. He was known for smoking tobacco, and this uh, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and yeah, anyways, others were there. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he was living in a latrine, you know. So instead of having this womanly, childlike mentality of seeing these things and just being interested in those things without understanding the essence of what they're trying to actually offer to us, and just taking them at face value like that, then we're missing the whole point. So we should follow Shukadeva Goswami in the uh, proper light, with proper understanding, and under the guidance of bona fide acharya. Mm, yeah. So in this way, the pure devotee of the Lord, they stand out, even in the assembly of the incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the importance of the uh, worship of the Lord's devotee is explained in this verse. This is also explained elsewhere. Very famous instances there. Lord Shiva is explaining to Parvati this Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarjanam. So Lord Shiva explains to Parvati that among all the types of worship, the worship of Lord Vishnu is the best. And then even superior to that is the worship of Tadiya, Vishnu Tadiya, which means things in relation to Vishnu and specifically the devotees of Vishnu. So Shukadeva Goswami, he takes precedence even in the assembly of other great devotees. It's interesting because his own guru is Vyas, and Vyasa's guru is also there, Narada Muni. But still, he was the chosen one, so to speak, and he was given that service by his superiors. So, should never minimize the importance of Shukadeva Goswami. Whenever we, for the sake of glorifying these devotees, sometimes devotees they kind of we see this in the great flaws of this Ritvic philosophy, which is created, which is supposedly supposed to glorify Srila Prabhupada as being the best and final acharya, and nobody else can come to that standard. He is the only guru. But that very philosophy itself is actually accomplishing the opposite of glorifying Srila Prabhupada by saying that Prabhupada is so great and so amazing, but he couldn't even make one disciple who could be a proper guru. And so similarly, if we have this mentality, Shukadeva Goswami is so great, Gorky Shordas Babaji is so great, I'm so great because I'm skipping all these Vedic rules and regulations. We're actually kind of accomplishing the opposite thing. We're missing the whole point of what they're offering. Shukadeva Goswami has given us the essence of the Vedas. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn so much about Vedic culture, and we learn so much about um, how to behave properly in this world and practice Krishna consciousness. So if we prematurely reject these things, and at the same time consider ourselves to be giving so much importance to Shukadeva Goswami, we're making a very big mistake. So one should never minimize the importance of a devotee like Shukadeva Goswami. And we should understand that the importance of what he did and is doing is not that he was a sensationalist, not that he transgressed the rules and that's what makes him so amazing. The amazing thing is that he presented the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the main thing. That's the main reason why Shukadeva Goswami is glorified. Of course, anyone else who wanders around naked and leaves home, skipping out on his dharma like that, they're generally actually they wouldn't be respected in society. But great devotees also there's like this Rishabdev who he left behind his dharma as a kshatriya, he only was wandering around, but he's glorified in the Bhagavatam. So it's not just by doing these things, not just by skipping out on one's duties, but by uh, following, by ultimately becoming the Bhagavat, one is glorified. So we should offer respects to Shukadeva Goswami and try to follow in his footsteps properly. Take the service that we have been given and represent our spiritual master to the best of our ability. After all, if one is a brahmachari, they should behave like a brahmachari. If one is a sannyasi, they should behave like a sannyasi. If one is a doctor, they should behave like a doctor. They can dress like a doctor. If one wants to be um, like a movie star, then they can dress like a movie star. And you can do service as a movie star. But it's not that a sannyasi should be dressing like a movie star to do service like a movie star. Prabhupada exhibited that very clearly. Yeah, finish there. There's 8 minutes. I did good this time. Yes, for
Similar thing about the sannyasis. What it was is that Prabhupada was being minimized. They were keeping his milk from him and his picture upside down. Yeah, it was pretty misguided that he was a member of the Gaudiya mob. But
Yeah.
and letters were coming. Yeah, those four sannyasis that Prabhupada gives they after they took sannyas, they went from different davas and they were instead of minimizing, they wanted to
They overcompensated.
yeah, make him much greater than he's saying is God.
Yeah.
Which is going too far. So Prabhupada said this is so you kick them out. But as far as the dress, there was an interview and one radio interview or TV. So why are you saddled? Why are they dressed like this? And Prabhupada said, no, it's naturally the leader is dressed in one way to follow them. So he gave that. And then also the brahmachari was going to India and the brahmacharis, they all dressed with dhoti and kurta. So the Prabhupada, they just, oh, okay, I guess we're brahmachari, we should dress like dhoti and kurta. But Prabhupada didn't mind the Western dress. As a matter of fact, when he went to Vrindavan the first time, he said, no, this is summertime, he had him dressed in a wool suit. Summer. So he didn't mind it, and he brought saris for the girls because they were walking, some of them walk around the new schools. Just so he wanted them to dress properly, but he didn't bring dhotis.
Yeah.
But it just gradually caught on.
Yeah.
All the brahmacharis in India, they were,
Yeah.
dhotis are good.
Like you said, it's just natural.
It just caught on.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Prabhupada ever pushed like that. He didn't kind of goad anyone if they weren't doing that, but just kind of naturally, because they wanted to please Prabhupada, they saw that this is pleasing to Prabhupada, so they accepted like that.
And when the devotees should do in the beginning, they always more on Dori could with books. And then he heard that they were wearing Western dress, wearing wigs. Like in long their way from Prabhupada. Yeah, stuff. Then he heard from Prabhupada, no problem, they're dressed like that. And they look right on them.
Yeah, after he heard the book scores, then he said, "Oh, no problem, keep
He
doing."
didn't mind it. He didn't mind the Western dress, but the women he wanted them to dress properly because Western. So that's fine. So
Yes, thank you. Anything?
So I have a question about Shukdev Goswami. He left the house immediately. He didn't go through any ritualistic ceremonies. We also hear that came back to study Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of Vyasdev. So did he receive that time some kind of?
It doesn't seem like it. I've never heard any description of it, but otherwise, yes, bro.
It's, I think it's in Purana. I think it's, I can find it's described in Prabhu Sangaya, commentary of Jiva Goswami. And I believe it's Bhavishapura, he quotes Bhavishapura, that Vyasadeva had his subordinates or disciples or something. They were reciting verses. And this way Shukadeva Goswami was attracted. So basically, they attracted Shukadeva Goswami back home. So that Vyasadeva could teach him. That's when Vyasadeva told Shukadeva, because it's very clear that Shukadeva just walked out of his mother's womb outside.
Yeah, but he's asking, did he get initiated when he went back? We also hear in scriptures that it's essential one gets initiated to go back to God, isn't it?
It's not described even that Lord Chaitanya initiated Rupa and Samadhana, like with a ritual.
Yeah.
He gave them names of there was no formal Vedic or Pancharatric ritual of initiation. But obviously he instructed 60 families to describe all these things. How is initiation taken? What are the all items like that? So it looks like these special persons very much.
Devlet kuruluşlarına yetiştiler, kuruluşlarına yükledim bir şey yetiştiler, bir şey yani. Birine that's good. But yeah, I think he should be asked it also informally he was a spiritual master that she gave us. Well,
Yeah,
we don't hear about him receiving instruction.
Yeah, no doubt. Vasudev is his guru, but it doesn't seem like formal ceremony was done, and he's glorified like that.
Can we read about this too, that Vyasadeva actually taught him? Because in Srimad Bhagavatam.
I've also heard this, that he originally was hearing the verses of Bhagavatam basically being chanted by the disciples of Vyas, and then he decided to come back and
it's right there. Tata Sandara, Jiva Goswami, there's exact
that wasn't there.
from which scripture, as far as I can remember, it's Parisha Puran. And there's reference for that. So it's not just hearsay. It's very clear that he was teaching.
Did Shukdev Goswami recognize Vyasadeva in Srimad Bhagavatam too?
Bhagavatam is his guru?
Yeah. Did Vyasadeva, because before you recite, just like you chanted for Pranam.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like Shukadev Goswami thought his father was a fallen grihasta for a while. He didn't even want to come out of the womb. He's saying, "What are these guys doing?"
But I'm saying at this point, when he has already, hopefully he has heard already by this time, it's not going to happen in the future. So
Yeah.
So if he has heard already, one is supposed to acknowledge one's spiritual master before deciding.
He
That's the formal thing, it's not
Shukadev does have kind of a Mangalacharan before he starts speaking.
Yeah.
I don't know if he mentions Vyas by name in that. I don't think so.
Like that was Narayana
Yeah.
The Indian Saraswati Vyasa.
Yeah.
So who is speaking?
That's Sutta Goswami speaking.
So obviously, it's very interesting. But definitely, Shukadeva Goswami had a passion towards Vyasa.
Yeah.
Advice, proper transition of knowledge. He was converted.
Yeah.
From being
Brahmavadi.
Brahmavadi to you cannot imagine Shukadeva Goswami just disregarding Vyasadeva after hearing Bhagavatam. Okay, that's just your opinion. Quite.
Okay, anything else? Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Prabhupada ki jai.
Even now at the moment, it's not described that he initiated Prabhupada Maharaj because they're but these ceremonies are because they are conjunctive.